Steve, would you lead us in a pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start the meeting, I want to introduce Nathan Dilley. Nathan is our counsel tonight from the law firm of Lawber. First item is a consent agenda. Consider the approval of the...
Ministerial Alliance, anybody here?
I didn't see anybody, and it's not on the agenda for this week.
Oh.
Is there someone here from the Ministerial Alliance? Yeah, I didn't.
If you don't mind, I can lead.
never know that it was on, that it had to be on.
Okay. I usually do it before the meeting opens.
Oh, it's okay, no.
No, that's fine. No, go.
You're good.
No,
All right.
we can all use a prayer.
We're good.
No, you-
Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this city. Lord, we thank you for giving us guidance and wisdom throughout and giving glory to your name in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Rob.
Consider approval of the city council minutes for March 3rd and 17th and 19th. Are there any questions on those minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Mayor, reports of mayor, reports of boards, commissioners, there's 12 of them listed there. Are there any questions on any of the 12? Moving on to public hearings, we would like to officially open the public hearing, which will be a public hearing and consider the first reading of an ordinance for the formation of the Highland Community Improvement District.
Mayor, let me, real quickly, just point out to council, it might be out of order in your packet. It might be immediately following the Chamber's report. So if you can just look at, so there's two items on the Highlands in here. One is the subdivision for final reading. Then you'll see that the Chamber's report is in there, and at least in my packet. Then the item after that is the public hearing for the formation of the Highlands Community Improvement District. So we do have Mr. Michael Mahan here from Hush Blackwell. And let me just introduce it, Michael, and then perhaps you can answer some questions, and the mayor will convene the public hearing. So we received a petition from the McBride Homes project asking for the formation of a CID, that's a Community Improvement District, to help finance $3.4 million of the $10 million development project. That district would then be authorized under their formation. It becomes a separate political subdivision of the state, much like the Forum Plaza CID that we have in Rolla, where they could do special assessments against developed lots within the district. And those assessments would be annually, can range from $500 to $800 per year, depending on lot sizes. We have, in compliance with the law, we have issued public hearing notices to the taxing entities, property owners, 3 publications in the paper for tonight's meeting. And so we'll be able to get into some of the details of the CID or that project, but do you want Michael to speak now, Lou? Or do
Yes.
you want to convene the public hearing first?
I opened it.
Okay.
Members of the council, thank you for having me. My name is Michael McMahon with Hush Blackwell. We are counsel to the developer and the petitioner of the SID petition. So as John explained, this SID is to, we're proposing the formation of a SID in order to fund a portion of the public infrastructure costs of the Highlands subdivision that's being implemented. So the SID would have, it would levy special assessments. As John noted, those range between $500 and $800 per year. They can't be changed. So it's specific to each lot, but depending on the lot size, it will be $500, $600, $700, or $800 for the duration of the SID. And those special assessments are placed onto the tax bills for those property owners and homeowners. So what that goes to fund is eligible public improvements under the SID Act. So primarily here, there's about $10.7 million of public infrastructure costs. So that's sanitary sewer, storm sewer, water service infrastructure, and streets and sidewalks primarily are the cost centers here. The SID, these special assessments would fund about 3.4 million of those. And so this is disclosed to the homeowners as part of the home buying process. So the salespeople are trained, on the SID to answer any questions about the assessments. There's also several written disclosures that are made to prospective buyers as part of the home buying process, so that everyone's aware of the SID as well as the assessment and the amount that will be charged to their lot. Additionally, we'll record a memorandum in the land records, as well as there's information in the HOA documents. So there's multiple different ways that we're making folks aware of these assessments before purchasing the home. And so essentially how that works with the developer is the SID will issue a promissory note for that 3.4 million amount, and then use those special assessment proceeds to pay that off over time. And so that is how it essentially funds a portion of those infrastructure costs. That is the high-level overview of the SID and how that works and what we're proposing. But I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have, and appreciate your consideration.
Michael, maybe I missed it earlier on, but
Yeah.
I didn't realize this project was going to have a homeowners association.
Yeah.
Is that, you just
So-
generically said that, or that's what they're going to have?
Generally, there is a homeowners association unless there's no common improvements that would need to be maintained by a HOA. And so I could be speaking out of turn here, but generally there is an HOA that would be, part of the development that would maintain, the common areas and the common infrastructure. And I'm not certain, but mostly if there's any common ground, essentially, it would be responsible for that. If there's any sort of amenities that are in there, it would be responsible for that. And so generally the HOA, will exist to maintain those things, so they're not a burden on the public.
So the green space / park is not going to come to the city?
Correct. That's all, and that's all laid out in the PUD. That's all. So it's about 35 acres, I think, ultimately will be under that homeowners association's purview.
Yep.
Council have any questions for Michael?
Yeah, I just, for one thing, buyer beware, you're doing due diligence on that, so I don't have a problem from our, kind of governing body for that. But just a curiosity question, because I didn't see it in here, was there a length of time, or is that going to be an ongoing thing for maintenance, or how does it?
So it's time limited, so the maximum amount of time the SID can exist is 27 years under this petition. Or if that promissory note is paid off earlier, then it ceases to exist at that point, which we, at this time, project it would, about 25 years would be when that would be paid off, and then those assessments stop being levied and the
Gotcha.
SID
The
goes away.
promissory note on building the infrastructure and
Yes.
the different things.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Understand.
But in any event, if it's not paid off, there's a hard 27-year limit that's baked into the petition.
So the only confusion I've seen out there on social media, just to make it very clear, this is only to the lots within the Highlands. This, nobody else in the city, nobody else has
Correct.
to worry about this.
Nobody else. Nope.
I
It's
just saw
only
some things out there, so I wanted to clear that up. real quick.
Yeah, only purchasers of the lots, the 587 lots in the Highlands would be subject to this assessment. Yep.
Mayor, I'm doing some math over here, and we have 587 homes. And if we were to go at the smallest amount of $500, and then we take that by the 25 years that you just said, that math comes out to like $7.3 million, not 3.4. Is there something that I'm missing?
Yeah,
It would be
Josh.
time value of money.
Yeah,
Who's
you
hol-
gotta have it.
I'm sorry.
Who's holding the note?
So the developer or an affiliate will hold the note and receive those payments over time.
Right.
Yep.
So whoever's holding the note, including them, could charge interest.
Yeah, and that is the
Right, so presumably, they could sell the note, go to outside financing, or they can keep the note in their house, in-house. But either way, there's an interest charge.
Yes, and we do anticipate interest here. The planned interest is 7%, and so that will be charged between the SID and the developer. And yeah.
And I think that's specified in the petition as well.
Yes, yep, it is in the petition. And, with amortization and the interest charges, the total amount paid over the period would be about 5.9 million, including interest.
And Josh, I think the difference is that the 500, the lots are assessed as they're built out. And so this is going to take somewhere between 8 and 10 years to build out that. So in a way, it does provide some motivation for McBride to continue to move through the phases of the project and subdivide, because they're not allowed to recover any of that cost until there's a house, quite frankly, not
Correct.
just a subdivision or lot, but a house built on that lot.
Yep, and in the petition, it specifies, so the assessment can't be levied until there's an initial certificate of occupancy that's issued. So there's no assessment charge until that time. So some of them, might not start until 10 years in. And I have some projections I can share with you guys if that would be helpful.
What happens if, let's say McBride's 3 years into this and they went out?
Mm-hmm.
What happens to that? What happens to the SID and what happens to the note? Do they still, I'm assuming the SID stays in effect either way, whether they own it or not, and then they could choose to keep the note or they can sell the note. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you're saying McBride stops developing this, like 100 homes in? I mean, so, yeah, the SID is a separate political subdivision, so it would continue going, and, I will say that's never happened with any of the SIDs that we've formed, so that would be a first, but if it did happen, the SID would be separate.
The SID survives and then they could keep the note or not keep the note.
Yes, yeah, and so, I mean, not to, just conjecture here, but I would imagine that some other developer might come in and we would have to work something out with them with the note, to transfer it, but those notes are transferable, so yeah. But
Notes aren't or are?
they are.
They are?
Yeah.
I would think. Okay. Does that answer your question, Josh?
Yeah, I'm following.
So another curiosity is, so the CID is connected to the lending, so there's no distance between the CID and the lender as far as like, there's no way for somebody to get in the middle of that, like, there's like,
No.
that is, it's designated for that. I'm thinking this out loud because of what the mayor just brought up, if there was something to happen.
Yeah, so there's not a lender with the SID. So the SID essentially, the developer acts as the lender here. So the SID would issue its promissory note to the developer, who then fronts the costs of these public improvements. And so to answer that question, also, the SID can only issue this note if the developer has proved up, those costs. So it has to submit cost evidence to show that it's spent the $3.4 million on public improvements. So if it hasn't done that, the note doesn't get issued, or it gets issued in a smaller amount, and it's issued directly to the developer or an affiliate.
Gotcha. So the SID this is very curious. I thank you for explaining this.
Of course, yeah.
So the SID, in the case that he was talking about, let's say McBride said, okay, we're not doing this anymore.
Mhm.
So the SID would be, like, who would own the SID? Whoever took over the project, or would
SID,
it?
no, SID's a political entity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where does
Nobody
it go?
owns it. It's a political entity.
Own was a poor word, but it's a mechanism. It's a vehicle. Like, who controls the vehicle?
So it's controlled by a board of directors, so there would be, they're listed in the petition. So there is a city, Mayor Magnitz would be one of the board members, as well as 4 representatives from the developer.
That's what I need. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Yep.
So we have 2 other SIDs in the city. Coles is the first one, and Coles decided to carry the note themselves.
That was a TIF. But they
Oh, that was a
couldn't-
TIF, right?
yeah.
But they can carry, they carried the note.
Yeah.
Or they
Full
can,
plot.
or they can go to third-party finance.
Right.
But at 7%, then Treasury bills at 4%.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess they'll carry the note.
Right. That's good. Thank you. Of
course.
That helps.
Any other questions?
John, you said, when you were just talking a couple minutes ago, you said something about, recovering costs. And that's what this is for this company to recover some of the cost.
Yeah,
Of
it helps
building-
finance some of the public infrastructure that the developer is required to do.
Right. We haven't done this for like Rick Morris at the lodges or Mike Waisner with the St. Maria's? Okay.
No, we did, the only one we've done, the only one we've really been approached about is the Forum Plaza CID, and that was done much along the same way. In that case, it was a blighted property and allowed some of those proceeds to go towards actually building demolition. That doesn't apply in this particular case. Kevin Guffey, who owns the corner of 72 and 63, is actively interested in looking at a SID. He hasn't made that decision at this point. He hasn't quite figured out what he's going to do with that property that he's cleaning up, but he's had conversations with us about a SID there as well.
But wouldn't those SIDs be same mechanism, right? But different, because that would be sales tax, not property tax.
Well, each SID stands on its own, and so in that petition, they're going to identify whether their revenue stream to pay off the note is going to come from a sales tax or a property tax or a property tax assessment. So a commercial CID obviously is going to use a sales tax. A residential CID is going to use a property tax or a tax assessment, in essence.
Right. So everybody gets taxed on a flat plane, we'll just say this is what they're taxed, and this is actually gonna go above. It's gonna be an extra tax for them to live in their home.
So it's actually called an assessment, but yes, it's an assessment imposed by
An
the
extra
developer.
property tax.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I mean, Josh, to me, it's the fairest way you can do this, because they know that going in. When they buy the property, that's under contract. So it's not the guys across the street that have nothing to do with this that are having to pay the tax. It's actually the new purchasers, and they'll know that up front as they go in.
I
And even
understand.
if that's sold and turned over to another owner, they're gonna know that going in, because it'll be in that contract.
I guess my question is, if I were a business owner in the developing business and I developed an entire subdivision, would I not recoup my cost from selling the homes?
Well, this is telling you they can't. They're not achieving the return on investment that they desire. So if that's the case, they either don't do the development or they look for a mechanism. I mean,
You're ready to finance.
you can gloss it over any way you want, but at the end of the day, this is about, they're making an investment with a desired return on investment.
So how common are the CIDs on the properties that you have, the developments? Is it pretty much all of them?
No, it depends on the infrastructure costs. So, the team will kind of anticipate, a certain level of public infrastructure costs that are required for a home to go in, and if it exceeds that, generally that's when they would engage us to
So
come.
they do an assessment?
So here's what usually happens. Usually, I'm not picking on McBride.
No, you're.
Usually somebody like a developer is gonna come to City Hall with their hand out and say, we'd like a street, we'd like a sewer, we like this, and we like that. And the city says, we're not doing it.
Exemptions.
This becomes Plan B.
So how many developments do you think you have? Because I know you're the largest quick home builder in Missouri. How many of those developments have CIDs? do you
CIDs,
know?
off the top of my head, I know we've got 4 or 5 in Jefferson County, and we've got, we did one in Crestwood, there's one in Maryland Heights, and these are primarily St. Louis metro area, but we've
Okay.
got, I would say, at least 6 or 7 of these going, and then 2 that are kind of, have been approved but are in the development phase, so they haven't started charging assessments yet, but this is not the first time by any means.
Have you ever seen where home buyers are turned off by the additional?
I mean, yeah, not everyone, is enamored with the,
With more taxes?
Yeah, right. But the thing that we really do try to do is make sure that this is disclosed multiple different ways before people buy the home, so that it's not like a gotcha type thing. And there are benefits to homeowners too, in that this portion of the costs, that's financed through the assessments is essentially a 0% financing, because it's they're paying the assessments. These are fixed assessments each year, and there's no interest charge on those. And then, the other benefit is that they pay it only during the, number of years that they own the home. So if I only own the home for, 2 years and then I sell, then, the next buyer would take over those assessments. So, we do
Right.
get good feedback about it as well.
Is an
but yeah.
assessment tax deductible like a property tax would be?
I'm not certain. It's a special assessment, so it's not a tax technically. It's collected by the county collector, but I'm not certain.
So it's probably not deductible.
I don't think so, no. I've not had that question though, so.
So, we talked about McBride coming in, I don't know, about 3 months ago, and this wasn't brought up then. Is there any specific reason why we're waiting 3 months to come back and ask for this?
Well, I was going to ask the same question. I would have thought that they would have mentioned it early on as well, but to
Yeah.
my knowledge, they didn't. At least they didn't disclose it to us.
And really, I think it's just because these are, we treat it as two separate considerations, that there's the planning and development and zoning approvals that come through the city, and then this is a petition we're requesting under state law, and really the timing driving this is not to try to hide the ball or anything, but it's to, we wanted to make sure that we had all the information needed to submit to you all a full and complete SID assessment, SID petition, for your consideration. And as soon
And
as-
I think you also get into the cost of the infrastructure. You have estimates, but until you do the engineering design, which is currently being finalized now,
Yep.
some of those costs aren't firmed up until that point.
Yes, yeah, and that's really what's driving it, is the per lot, infrastructure costs. And so once, it's determined if, a SID is feasible and, desirable here, that's when we kind of go into requesting this and submitting the petition.
Any other questions? If not, since this is an open public hearing, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak for or against this formation of a SID? And if not, does council have any questions for Michael or staff? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
We'll
much. for your
close the
time.
public hearing.
Thank you.
May we have the first reading, please?
First reading of an ordinance to approve the final plat of Highlands Phase 1.
This is the one that we got to reverse the order of the item. So if you'll go to the item after the chamber packet.
Go after the red one, right here.
Yeah.
I gotta read more.
You got to read more words.
And it's first reading, correct?
Yeah.
First reading of an ordinance approving a petition to create the Highlands Community Improvement District pursuant to section 671401 through 671571 of the revised statutes of Missouri, creating the Highlands Community Improvement District as a political subdivision, directing the city clerk of the city of Rolla, Missouri, to report the creation of the Community Improvement District to the Missouri Department of Economic Development and the state auditor, establishing an effective date and directing and authorizing city officials to take certain actions related to the same.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, acknowledgement or special presentations, the Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Stevie Kearse, Executive Director for the Rolla Chamber of Commerce. I'm joined tonight by our Tourism Director, Amy Campbell. So we're here to present 2024 Year-End Tourism Update and Benchmarks. Here in just a second, Amy's going to come up here to present our marketing efforts. Before I turn it over to her, there was just a couple of items I wanted to highlight. The detailed report is in your packet. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to look over all of that. Two items I wanted to mention before marketing was one of our biggest tourism efforts during this last part of the year for 24 was the passage of the motel tax increase. So you guys are aware that we took to the voters that request of a 2% increase, taking our motel tax from 3% to 5%. That was placed on the ballot in August and successfully passed, so we appreciate everybody's support of that effort. The tax was implemented in November, so that's when the hotels started collecting it, and then we saw the first check in January of 25. So we'll report more on those efforts during our 25 reports to you guys. And then moving on to the next item, we at the chamber, we're responsible for the land and the buildings that the visitor center, where the visitor center sits. So it's nearly 10 acres of land, 5 historical buildings, and of course the visitor center. So during 2024, we only had one major buildings and grounds item, and that was the purchase of a new HVAC system for the caretaker's residence. That did replace an HVAC system from the 90s. So I think that was a great unit that served its time. So hopefully this next one lasts as long as that one did. Everything else on the property is doing great. So now I'm gonna turn it over to Amy for marketing.
Thank you.
Pull up a quick PowerPoint here. Okay, just quickly, again, I'm Amy, the Tourism Director at the Rolla Chamber of Commerce. I did want to quickly kind of go through some of our marketing efforts, so I kind of put some things in a PowerPoint here to kind of show you what we've been up to. So first and foremost, I hope you guys know by now, we have a website, visit rolla.com. This past year, we did apply for a grant through the Missouri Division of Tourism, a marketing platform grant that did allow us funding to update our website. So we did do that, and actually we're still kind of doing some finishing touches on that, but that did reimburse us half of our cost of upgrading the website. And then as you can see on the website, we have these little bubbles, that's what we call them, on that lower section there, and those link to, oops, did I mess it up? I doubt it. Is it frozen?
It's frozen.
Frozen.
Oh, there it goes.
Well, yours did, but this one's not.
Okay.
It's nothing that you did. It's silly. Technology.
Okay, there we go. So anyway, those bubbles link to these pages. So we have a couple different bubbles on our page. We have a page that lists all the live music in the area, not just Rolla, but Phelps County. We have a page that links to all the different 5Ks, our Run Rolla page. We have two pages that are kind of seasonal. So right now, one is full of all the summer camps that are taking place in the Rolla, Phelps County area. And then we have one that's spring events, so we list all of the spring events. And then the good thing about those pages, we take those URLs, share them on our social media, and then we also use them in paid digital advertising that can link back to those pages. And of course on our website as well, on the front page of the website is our events calendar, so any event taking place in the Phelps County area can list their event on there for free. And we pull those events occasionally to put on our social media and promote them through all of our marketing efforts. We do some e-communications. We have our e-newsletter that goes out the first of every month, and then we also do text alerts. So if you aren't getting our text alerts, you can sign up for those. You just text Rolla to that phone number, and we send out weekly text alerts letting people know what's going on in the area. Plus, they're also great to communicate if there's been changes to schedules to certain events. We can get that information out in a timely manner. Of course, you know, we're on social media, so we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, and we're even on TikTok. So make sure you're following all those pages. It's a great place to learn about what we're doing. We use those platforms to promote events in the area and tourism-related businesses. We have billboards. So we've always had the billboards on the east and west side of Rolla, which is the very front one you're seeing. We change those out about every 2 to 3 years. And those, again, just kind of welcome people to Rolla, tell them about, you know, Visitor Center, Exit 184, and our website. And then new, last year we added the Highway 63, South 63, again, promoting our website. Unfortunately, with the tornado, it did get hit, but the billboard company has already rebuilt the billboard. We do have a new wrap ordered, so that will be going back up here soon. And then new last year, again, through the Missouri Division of Tourism, again, that marketing platform development grant, we did a billboard in partnership with St. James. This billboard is half paid by the Missouri Division of Tourism grant, and it is at the St. Clair, I think it's at the 240-mile marker. Stipulations with the Missouri Division of Tourism grants, everything has to be outside a 50-mile radius, so it can't fund our local billboards, but so that's why we worked with our local billboard company to find us a billboard that does reach outside that 50-mile radius. And we do, of course, still have our Phelps County map and our Rolla map and our visitors guides. Those are available to anybody and everybody, and if people want to put them out for an event or they're in our hotels, sometimes even our real estate agents use them. They're used by hospital, you know, some of the bigger companies that for recruiting packets. New that we added a couple years ago, I think it was last year or the year before, is our hotel tent cards. So it's a picture of it that you're seeing there. We do have these plastic cards in the hotels and people can scan them and it links to our website so they can find out things to do, places to eat, places to shop, and that type of thing. And we've had a pretty good response with that. I think we've had saw a lot more hits on our website last year, and we do think it's a result of those hotel cards. We also do some outreach. We attend the Fort Leonard Wood Newcomers Orientation twice a month.
and that gives us the opportunity to engage families that are new to the Fort Leonard Wood area. We've also set up some booths at S&T events, some of their tailgate parties, again, just kind of interacting with visiting families. I think we should also set up a booth at the center even this past year. Again, you've heard me talk before, it is just as important to engage our local community about what's going on. If they're not knowledgeable about what's going on in the area, that's not good for our visitors. So we also try to engage the local people too, make sure that they're aware of our website and what's going on. This is just a quick snapshot of some of our print advertising. Again, this is not every ad we do, but just try to give you a glimpse of some of the ads that we have put out there. Some of those you'll see the logo, the Missouri logo on that. Again, those are funded by the Missouri Division of Tourism grant. So they require that we put their logo on there, and they reimburse us half of our advertising cost. Again, just another snapshot of some more advertising that we do in print. And then this is a snapshot of some of our digital advertising. So again, we do regular social media posts, but we also do paid social media posts. Again, just like the Run Rolla that you're seeing there, those link back to those URLs on our website that specifically list the races happening in town or the summer camps. And then we also have a digital advertising program that we partner with Results Radio on, and those are basically mobile ads, those pop-up ads that you see occasionally, again, linking back to some of those URLs that are related to like fall fun, races, and that type of thing. Groups. So we had some pretty awesome groups last year. I'm sure you've heard us talk about the Irish 66ers. They've been here before. They were back last year. They travel Route 66 from Chicago all the way to California. So we had them for an overnight stay last year, and we also treated them to dinner at Public House. We had the Big Bam, Rolla Ramble. That was the first time that the Big Bam actually stayed in Rolla the whole entire time and just did rides out amongst the Phelps County area. Hopefully they'll be coming back again this year, I think in September. We hosted a portion of the Route 66 motor tour. We provided dinner for the group, and they did stay overnight. And then the Fort Leonard Spouses Tour. That is something that we host annually for the Fort Leonard Wood Spouses Community Group. And we actually just hosted them last week. So it's always a great opportunity, gives us opportunity to bring them into Rolla, showcase our community. So that's something that we do annually with them. So that's the groups that we had this past year, and that's it. Try to keep it quick and simple.
Amy, the print and digital ads.
Yes.
Are those designed in-house or outsourced?
I do them.
They are absolutely tremendous.
Thank you.
You know,
That's probably
the
one part
color
of my job I really love.
combinations, you see happy faces.
Yeah.
You really do a great job.
Thank
with
you.
those.
And you'll notice most of those pictures in there, I don't use stock images. We do our best to really use images of people in our community.
These are local.
Yes.
Ladies, right?
Yeah, my daughter's in that
recognize
picture. So we actually hired a photographer, and some of those people are Ozark Actors Theater actors. Of course, we recruited our own children to come and be a part of those, and we did some staged photos around town so we could use in our advertising, because again, we don't want to use stock images. We want to use real images with our real people. So.
Thank you.
Hey, Amy.
Any questions for Amy?
Yeah, just one. Just one.
Okay, you can have one.
You said that you think that you're getting more hits on your website because
Yes.
of the QR code. Are you not tracking that QR code?
Yeah, Stevie's going to talk about that in benchmarks.
Cool.
I'm letting her do the numbers.
All right.
I do the pretty stuff.
The QR code, specifically the QR code, those what you're asking for, Josh, the one that's on the tent cards?
Yeah.
So we just recently, we were tracking all of that stuff, and we switched to a new website, and the link was broken. So we're starting new tracking.
But
again
prior
for
to that, we were averaging about, just from that QR code, about 150 to 175 hits a month.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good when you just consider
And
that
they're just
in
in
the
the
hotels.
hotels. Yeah.
Yeah. Because where before, we kind of relied on using our visitor's guide to make
Right.
sure people pick those up and whatnot. So now, again,
Oh,
so.
that's good.
Yeah. The last item to report on is benchmarks. With our year-end reports, we do, part of our contract is to track these specific benchmarks for 5 years and report back to you guys. So we're gonna start with, I don't have a pretty PowerPoint like Amy does because these are just charts. Motel tax performance. So this is in your packet though. This first chart reflects the motel tax received to the chamber. So this is the 90% that we collect, or that we receive, because the city keeps 10% of the tourism tax. So it's 5 years is the chart you're looking at. Of course, 2020 to 2024, 2020 is COVID. I'll be so happy next year when 2020 drops off all of our charts. So not much travel during that year. And then, of course, motel tax stepped up. We ended 2024 with 18,800 more in motel tax than in 2023, so it was a really good year. The next chart is just reflecting 5 years of income versus expenses for motel tax. Then moving on to our lodging performance. So what we track here is our average daily rate as well as our occupancy percentage. So the Chamber of Commerce does subscribe to a source called Smith Travel Research. Next year you'll hear that called something different because they did change their name, but for now, Smith Travel Research. We subscribe, we pay to get this data. Our local hotels report to this source, and so we're able to compare Rolla hotels to the state's average. So on those charts, you'll see STR, which is going to be our local hotel reports, and then the Missouri, that's going to be state average daily rate. I put the numbers up there for 2024. It's on average $109 to stay in a Rolla hotel, which is under the state's average, which means it's affordable to stay in Rolla, which that's really a good thing to hear. Monthly occupancy, we actually are above the state's average. So we have more stays in Rolla than the state does as an average for the whole. So that's great. That means lots of people are coming to Rolla. I'm gonna move on to our website stats. So of course, this is all tracked through Google Analytics. This is just gonna be the website as a whole. So again, back to Josh's question, you were asking specifically for that one QR code again. So, but this is the whole website. It performed the best in 2024 as far as visitors to the site goes, and I do think that that is because we have spread the word a lot locally. People are getting the message, go check visitrolla.com to find out all of the community events. So the visitrolla.com site is great for locals to use just as much as people traveling and thinking of coming to Rolla. Or if you're coming to Rolla for an event or a group, you're going to go to Visit Rolla to see what else is happening. But the locals are really searching it as well. And then two more, visitor center performance. So all of this data is tracked from people that sign in the sheet at the visitor center. And you can see 2024, we had more foot traffic at the visitor center than we've had in the past couple of years. 2020 doesn't count. That was a weird, unique year. Again, we had lots of foot traffic that year. Then the last benchmark to report is Destination Rolla grants. 2020, you see that was really low. That was just really things that happened before the COVID shutdown. No awards were awarded for grants in 2021 because we were kind of recouping, and it was also kind of hit or miss on activities. And then we built it back up over the years, Destination Rolla grants, and that's going to continue to grow because that was one of our promises to the voters with the 2% tax increase. And so if you're not familiar with what Destination Rolla grants are, those are grants that we award to individuals that are, it could be a local organization or a different organization that is bringing an event or a group to Rolla. So we give them that money to help with those events and make them a huge success for our community. So those are the highlights that we wanted to cover tonight, and we can answer any additional questions you guys might have.
Thank you. Any questions?
I was going to ask, with the hotel motel tax, how often do you receive the figures for those numbers? Do you see it?
Oh, for the average daily rate and the occupancy percentages, those things?
How much you're receiving in the tax?
Oh.
Do you get like monthly reports?
We get
or every?
a monthly check for the tax remittance, but we get our reports from STAR monthly
Yeah.
also.
Okay.
STAR doesn't report the tax, so again, they're gonna be
Yeah.
occupancy daily rate, and that comes monthly.
Okay, and you do track, like if a hotel says, why are you staying, what brings you here, you track all of that? still?
We encourage our hotels, I mean, I preach to them all the time, like if you're having a group, let me know, because sometimes
Yeah.
I'll talk to a group, and working with the groups can be anywhere from like, hey, recommendations to I'm holding their hand through the whole process. So, if I hand out information and, they're planning for next year, they don't always come back to me if they're working on everything on their own. So I've tried to work with the
To-
hotels to let me know, hey, this group did come. So,
Okay.
yes, it's kind of relying on their front desk and whoever makes the reservations to ask that question.
Okay, because I was kind of curious of how many people locally stayed in the hotels because of the tornado.
That I don't have that information yet.
Okay.
But we will be meeting with our
Yeah.
hotel managers in June. That's our next meeting.
Yeah.
We meet with them quarterly.
Okay.
So our next meeting will be June with the hotel managers. So that'll be one of the questions that we can ask. And we
Yeah.
could try to prep them to bring it to the meeting ahead of time.
Yeah.
I know on average, hotels were around 2 to 2:30 during that time frame, so
Yeah.
a lot higher increase. And then, I had a couple people say, I thought if we lived here, we don't pay the hotel motel tax. And I said, no, that's not how it works. You don't say, I'm from Rolla, so here's my ID.
If you're over 30 days,
You're-
you don't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but
that's
most
just
people
a-
weren't over 30 days, so they
Yeah.
did pay that. So, okay, all right, thank you.
I did stay in a local hotel during that time when we didn't have power. And
Yeah.
I noticed in the room then, I was like, oh, that looks really cool. So
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Did you scan it?
I was already subscribed, but
Yeah, we stayed for 4 days and we stayed at different, because the one we wanted to stay at was booked, and so
Yeah.
we
Oh,
just kind of
yeah.
moved down the line, and yeah, every room had the little
Good,
thing, so.
good.
Josh?
So it's being promoted.
Yes, just one more question.
I'll allow you one more.
Destination Rolla grants, is there
Yes.
like, do you guys have to have, applications submitted in a certain time frame to
Yes.
budget for the entire year?
Well, normally we set the budget, and this past year we opened up the process a little bit earlier because there were events happening at the front end that we were kind of like missing. So to help everybody prepare better, we did open it in the fall and then made those decisions so everybody knew by December, yes, I have this, or no, I don't, which we did fund, most of them. And then that way they had it for their 2025 planning. So that's the way we will continue to do that. Even if your event is in December of next year, apply. Everybody, no matter what time of year it is, you apply at that time. That way we can take into consideration everything, because we did have quite a few applicants, so we try to spread the love and, allot that. Of course, with the more motel tax coming in, that is something we promised that we would grow that grant. We did double it this year, and again, as that funding continues to grow, we will increase it even more.
Our budget is approved in November, and I think you finalize everything usually for grants in December, right?
Through November? Okay.
In the last contract, we negotiated with the Chamber on a destination grant committee. And the city council could appoint one or two to that committee. So basically, I was just waiting for two things. Their board to approve it, which they did in March, and whatever is a result of the election. So sometime next month, I'll come back to council. That would be your appointment, not mine. So amongst yourselves, you can decide if one or two of you want to be on the destination grant committee.
And the commitment to that is, our next meeting is May 15th, because we are going to add a new aspect to the grant, and obviously growing it, there's a lot of discussion there on how we want to go about that. So the committee will get together to discuss that. They do, help line out the guidelines, obviously help
And when is
evaluate
that in
grants. Huh? May
May
15th.
15th.
Okay.
That'll be the first meeting.
Yeah.
There will be more.
Yeah,
So, okay.
especially like I said,
It'd
normally
be good for
it's
council
kind-
then to have,
Yeah.
if they want somebody there
Yes,
for that
correct.
particular meeting.
The first meeting in May.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
If I may, how do you let the community know the grant is available?
I do a press release. I usually talk about, which I didn't mention that, we are on the radio.
Every
We talk
Wednesday.
on, every Wednesday. We're on Morning Mayor. So we talk about it on the radio. I talk about it numerous times throughout the year. Like I said, we do a press release. Anybody that has expressed interest in the grant, I have a spreadsheet that I keep their email. If they've applied in the past, they're on that. And I email all of them and say, usually a heads up, this is going to be available. Then when it opens, And then I usually send out a couple of reminders that, hey, it's gonna close in 5 days, hey, so.
Yeah, so even somebody misses it, like the bicycle group, for instance, even though they might have missed the award season, so to speak, they should still let the chamber know
Yeah.
because.
And they did, and they actually did get a grant this year.
Okay.
Nice.
So, yeah, like I said, we just kind of build that mailing list of people that are interested. So, and we just kind of model like other grants. It's hard to catch everybody every time. So,
Yeah.
I apply for state grants. It's open. You have this time frame.
Yeah.
Again, because there's a lot that goes into it.
If somebody does miss the deadline, or it's an event that we learn of completely after Destination Rolla grants are awarded, it's not like you're not gonna get any assistance from our office. So it's still really important for any groups, any events that are being planned in the community to meet with us, because there might be some other ways that we can help promote their efforts. Amy is really good about adding, if those events are open to the public, adding that into our marketing campaign. If there's ads and stuff that she's working on that are coming up that we can help promote your event, we would add that in. We would add it to the calendar of events on visitrolla.com. But sometimes some of our events also, we help do your kickoff. We might have welcome bags that we provide to all of your participants. We've hosted welcome dinners, lunches, breakfasts, those kinds of things. So just because you may have missed or didn't qualify for a Destination Rolla grant, there's other services we can help.
And I know like past events that either didn't apply for the grant or just needed assistance, we've helped with like, it was at a sporting event, like their hospitality room, and I secured local restaurants to provide food each day
Yeah.
for their hospitaltality room. And
That's
we
the
even
other
had
thing, us being a liaison
Yeah.
to other services, so it's not
So-
always just from us.
You guys are
Yeah.
partnering with a lot of folks, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's good. You get to,
We
you get to
try.
meet a lot of people.
Yeah. No, it's
You get to
awesome.
work with a lot of people.
It
That's
really
great. You
is.
guys do a great job. Thank you.
I think you've really stepped it up with the letting the public know about the destination grant and the email reminders, because I
Yeah.
get those reminders, so.
Yeah. Which we try, yeah.
Yeah. No,
And
but-
again, anytime, as we go forward, that grant is gonna grow. I mean, you guys are on city council. If you hear about people interested, it doesn't have to wait till that time. If somebody's interested for next year and wants to know, what is this about? Come talk to me. I encourage people to come and talk to me about the grant to really make sure that, they make the most of their application or answer any questions and that type of thing. I mean, we try to help people get funding. Like, this is what you need to do. Make sure you have this information. Because it's a committee that evaluates it, not just me, so.
Right.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for your work, ladies.
Moving on to old business, we have two items. The first one is an ordinance approving a final plat of Highlands.
And again, just to point out, this is, in your packet, is actually preceding the items we just talked about, so. yeah. Roman number 3A1.
All right. Yes. So this is the second time I've talked about this, so I took out some slides, but I think I left the important ones. So this is the property we're talking about. I think you know which one we're talking about. We just talked about it a little bit ago, but we got a final plat for a part of the Highlands development, which is the first phase, and that's what just popped up on the screen. So it's that we've approved a preliminary plat already, so this is a portion of that preliminary plat for, as I said, that first phase. And so what we've got here is 23 acres out of the 145 acres. So this is for 87 of the lots. It includes large common area and two separate common area lots. It includes a portion of a collector road that would be built. This will be Heatherfield Drive. And there was the slight difference between this plat and the approved preliminary PUD and preliminary plat. We think that that's basically they just reoriented where the lots were, and they were able to slip another lot in there. We think that's substantially in compliance with what was approved before. I should point out, as you might have seen already out there, if you've driven out there, there is a sales office being put off of Osage Drive. That's temporary until the model home area for the first cul-de-sac is built with the model homes, and then those will be kind of sales office. Also, the improvement plans have been done and approved. Water lines will need to be extended for this phase. There'll be a sewer lift station and sewer lines, force lines for this phase, and all the utilities, streets, and stormwater amenities for phase one are included with this phase one. And they did do a traffic study, which and that is contemplated with the improvements. So just to summarize, this does appear to be comply with the relevant zoning and subdivision requirements, substantial in conformance with the approved PUD and preliminary plat, and the improvement plans have been reviewed and approved. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Tom? If not, can we have the final reading?
The second and final reading of an ordinance to approve the final plat of the Highlands Phase 1.
Council's desire?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Penner,
Yes.
Greven,
Yes.
Roman,
He stepped out.
oh, Sherman? Oh, he's gone. Balch,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Kessinger,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Fridley,
Yes.
7 ayes.
Ordinance is approved. Next item is an ordinance to enter into an agreement with Cochran Engineering. Darren?
So as a reminder, the city received a grant from the State of Missouri Division of Tourism for welcome and wayfinding signage. That grant was for $30,000 and would provide matching funds. So staff negotiated a scope and fee with Cochran Engineering to complete the design work for this. Look at several areas, the Bishop Avenue Pine Street intersection, northeast corner of Bishop and Kings Highway intersection, 12th and Pine intersection. We do preliminary design on all of those, and the 12th Pine intersection will be taking the final design. Staff does recommend the final reading of this ordinance.
Any questions for Darren? If not, final reading, please.
All right, final reading of ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and Cochran Engineering.
Jackson will make a motion to approve.
Fridley, a second. Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Balch,
Yes.
Greven,
Yes.
Roman,
Yes.
Kessinger,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Fridley,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Ordinance is approved. Moving on to new business. First one is an ordinance to enter into an agreement with Olson Inc.
So, previous meeting, council awarded the design contract for the 10th and Hallway signal design to Olson Inc. out of Springfield based on their qualifications. Staff then negotiated a scope and fee. That is in your packet. Staff is requesting first reading of the ordinance. I will point out, we budgeted $80,000 for this design, and it's coming in at a little over $92,000. So, be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Darren? If not, first reading, please.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Rolla, Missouri to execute on behalf of the city of Rolla, Missouri a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and Olson Inc. for professional services for signal improvements at 10th and Holloway Streets.
Next item is an ordinance to prohibit public urination and defecation.
Good evening. I am asking for this ordinance because when I got several emails containing pictures of a person defecating in public, we tried to identify him and then we were going to charge him, only to realize that we did not have an ordinance covering these. The only ordinance we had was indecent exposure, and in that particular case, it didn't cover that. So I reached out to several other cities and found a very simple ordinance, this one here, and I'm asking that you pass it, which would give us the ability to charge somebody if they were caught urinating or defecating within a public view.
So
Chief-
Chief, what you're saying is that because of not catching it in the act, is what you're saying?
No, when it actually happened,
Mhm.
people sent me video of it.
Right, but you're saying because an officer didn't catch them in the act, since
Even if
it's
we
on
had caught
video?
them in the act, the only thing we could have charged them with was indecent exposure, because we had no ordinance covering this.
So you're saying that there would be stricter
Oh,
punishment?
yes, if,
for-
if driving down the street, you see somebody urinating on the side of a building or something,
Yeah.
then we can actually charge them.
Yeah, we've
with-
talked about that. I
Yes.
witnessed that downtown. I think it's, all of these things have been witnessed quite sometimes, videos of,
Which
Chief,
is
I got
why
all
I'm
of
asking
yours.
for this ordinance, so we can
I
charge
got a
them.
series of questions to ask you, but
Yes.
don't for a minute think that I'm sympathetic to somebody doing this. That's not.
Okay.
But I want to make sure the public understands and council understands what this is or what it isn't. So let's start with, before you issue a summons, is this a case where an officer has to see it occurring?
An officer would have to see it occurring, or if somebody else saw it occurring and we were able to figure out who it was, that person must be willing to go to court and testify that they saw this happening.
So somebody sees something.
Somebody
and they
sees
call
something
you
and
up,
calls us.
And we're
if-
going to take their word for it?
You have two witnesses or what? I'm sorry, excuse me.
Go ahead.
No, usually just one witness, just like a peace disturbance. If somebody's saying that person is disturbing my peace, we will take a report and we will present it to our prosecutor. And if our prosecutor decides that there's enough to take it to court, then we will call the witnesses forward.
So how do you get around a he said, she said?
You just have to take people at their word, unfortunately.
I think a lot of this has been caught on video
Yeah,
and
a lot
Well, that's my
photos
next
and
question.
stuff,
So now the question is video. Business has a camera up there, they see somebody in the back going to the bathroom. Is that video enough for you to issue a
Yes.
summons? If you could presumably identify the person?
Yes, then the officer wouldn't need any witnesses or anything. We could use the video.
Okay. Somebody driving around Rolla, they see somebody going to the bathroom, iPhone video, is that good enough as well?
If we can identify them, yes.
If you could identify them. We supposed to say turn around, look at the camera?
Right. Nice.
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay, so, all right, so now we got somebody caught. We issue them a municipal ticket.
Yes,
And then the prosecutor has the determination whether to pursue it or not.
right.
And it goes through municipal court.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a municipal charge. This is not like something that's going to sit with somebody for the rest of their lives, like,
No, it is a municipal summons,
okay, parking ticket.
yes. If they're not gonna have an arrest record for it, it's a ticket,
Yep. All right. Well, you hope that this is a discouragement.
A deterrent.
yes.
A deterrent, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Rob, you had a question?
No, I think you answered, I think you got it.
Any other council questions? Wow.
Were you anticipating a long discussion?
I thought we were going to rewrite this a few times.
Don't be
Are you
the-
sure you don't want to
Don't be
rewrite
part
this
of
a few
anybody.
times?
I think we've discussed this issue several times, though, because we've
We
had
discuss a lot
videos
of
of
things,
it.
a lot of times.
Yeah, but I think it's been
In this
something that the
particular
public's want
case, the
addressed.
simpler, the better.
All right, so if that's the case, first reading, please.
First reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 30 of the ordinances of the City of Rolla, Missouri by adding a new section, 30-49, to establish the prohibition of public urination or defecation.
Thanks, Chief. Next item is a resolution approving another managed hunt. Dawn?
Good evening. I have a little bit of a cough, so hopefully I can make it through without coughing too much. Okay, so last year, for the 2024 season, we approved a managed deer hunt for 5 locations. I don't know if you can see those very well, but we've got the Public Works yard up north, the cemetery here kind of towards the middle of town, the RMU property at O Highway, Southside Park, which is off of Lions Club, and then Silverleaf, which is also off of Lions Club. So we did have a shortened season. We didn't come until October to approve November 27th through January 15th. Once that was approved, we had 2 classes, both on the same day, just because we didn't have a whole lot of time to set these up. We had one first thing in the morning and one in the evening. In those 2 classes, we actually had 86 hunters show up, which was more than I anticipated. 73 of those hunters actually picked up their permits to hunt. During the first weekend, 5 deer were harvested. 4 of those were doe, and 1 of those was a buck. And if you recall, we made a rule that you had to harvest a doe before you could harvest the buck, because this isn't for trophy hunting, this is actually to thin the herd. I did talk with Department of Conservation, Darren, and he doesn't really have a way to look up any more than that. I thought maybe he could verify those numbers, but they could just verify it by county. So there could be that more bucks were harvested and they just didn't call it in because they didn't get a doe. So we sent the survey to all 85 hunters that showed up to the class. 25 responded, which is nearly a 30% response rate, so I thought that was pretty good. Some of the questions were, did you pick up your permit, and if not, why? Too many other hunters in the class and not enough time to hunt were the big answers. Which locations did you hunt? I did not hunt was one of the answers, and the other locations were widely hunted. It was a cross between all of them. Most hunters hunted multiple times, ranging from 1 to 9 or 10 times. So we asked the question, did you observe a deer? Yes, 15 of them said yes. And then we asked the question, if you observed a deer but did not harvest, why not? Some of the answers were that it was too far away, they saw them outside the hunting limits, dense vegetation, and many of them saw a buck first but hadn't gotten their doe yet. And then we asked the question, did you have trouble hunting, or did you have trouble trying to hunt the location you chose? And if so, did you try another location? And 4 of those answered that they did try other locations. So that was pretty promising that they're actually willing to go to other locations. So some additional feedback. So we kind of left it open-ended question, do you have any other feedback? Some of them said to try a lottery system, but in speaking with Darren at the Department of Conservation, he suggested that we not do that he's done managed deer hunts and a lot more hunters show up and they typically will manage themselves. So he said, try not to do that to ourselves. Some of them said to try to gain permission from private property owners adjacent to the public areas to also hunt those. Darren had also suggested that, and because we only got 5, he said it may take a while to thin the herd, and he said that the most bang for the buck would be to get private property owners to actually let others hunt on their properties. And right now the rule is 3 acres, and he suggested that we might reduce that size. More public properties to hunt would be better. Split up the weeks per hunter. A lot of them just really appreciated it and said that they would be doing it again next year. Open for the full season, which is why we're coming now, so that we can get ready for next season and do the entire season. Some of them wanted to harvest any deer, not just a doe first, but again, in talking to Darren, that's just not a good idea. That's not really the way to thin the herd. And then some of them suggested that we needed to thin some of the vegetation at Southside and Silverleaf parks. A few issues did come up during the hunt. One hunter took out branches without asking permission at the cemetery. And then there is a property that's feeding deer at Southside Park. We're gonna have to go look because it appears that they're actually feeding them on the park. So we can take care of taking the feeding off of the park itself. Darren would like to actually go talk to those property owners too, because we really don't want anybody feeding deer in the city limits because of the chronic wasting disease issue anyway. Changes for this coming season. We're going to work with Darren to be able to maybe come to some of the classes if possible. We're opening it up for the entire season. And again, remove any feeding occurring on actual city property, and then encourage those property owners that are adjacent to stop feeding as well. So this is just a chart that I'm going to continue to make this chart every year. The police department is going to March 1st. They're going to show how many deer strikes there were. So this chart, it's hard to see the actual numbers, but when I reported back in October, between October through December, there were 26 more deer strikes, and then already this year there's been 10. So I'll just keep those numbers going from year to year and report back. Questions?
So did the Conservation Department, they have they must have a sense of how big the herd is, but what's the natural turnover? In other words, to maintain the size of the herd, we have to take how many per year?
You know, he didn't say that, but he just said that the 5 we took wasn't going to be enough to touch it.
All
It'd
of
be
them.
good to know what the goal is. Do we have to take
Yeah.
10? Do we have to take 20?
I don't know. I can follow up with that.
Go ahead.
All of them.
There's grandmothers that aren't gonna like their
No.
pets going.
I got a question. So if you have 3 acres or more, right now, it's just open, like, as far as when you're in open season, there's no special anything you have to have. Do you need to go through the class or have permit, or that's just allowed?
If it's your own private property or you have the permission of somebody that owns 3 acres or more, then no, you don't have to come through the class.
You have to have a
That's-
deer tag.
You have,
they
yeah,
would
you have to go
normally
through the
have.
Department of
Dawn, I thought
Conservation.
if they were adjacent property, if I own an acre and a half and Nathan owns an acre and a half and we agree, that'll meet the 3 acre
Yeah.
threshold.
You just have to agree. But there's nothing that you have to do through the city right now.
Gotcha.
I guess, sorry. The only question I have is actually over the resolution itself. Is this, are we just doing this again just to kind of, because we're still in trial period? Or at some point, it's just, this going to become like a, just a yearly thing where it's only by the season and council doesn't have to approve it? They would just do it.
The very first, last year was the pilot year, and we made that very clear. I think we'll probably come back for the next couple of 3 years, reporting to council, give them numbers, see if there's adjustments need to make. I suspect there's gonna be a point in time where we're gonna just be able to get a blanket managed hunt in Rolla and not have to have an ordinance. But I would think in the next year or two, we'll still wanna come back and have council make any adjustments that we need to on the rules.
Sure.
Yes, and I would say that doing research, Columbia, it took probably about 10 years before they even saw any kind of change.
Okay. I was just curious.
It just kind of speculation here. We lost a lot of trees. Has there been more visibility, more calls, more car strikes? Does anybody have any
Yeah.
idea on that since the tornado came through?
I'm not sure.
Definitely change patterns, but I
Yes.
don't know that we've seen any real uptick at this point.
So my mom lives over by Lionsville Park. She's not seeing near the deer that she saw before.
They're over in my part of town.
Yeah. They're in all the yards.
They know what kind of hunter you are or what?
So-
I only have 6/10 of an acre, so I'm not gonna violate city ordinance here, Mr. Mayor.
But no, they like, there by the middle school and all that, all those trees are down, and you're seeing them a
Yep.
lot more where
Yep.
our place is.
Good job, Don.
Any other questions for Dawn? If not, can we read the resolution?
Yes, a resolution approving managed deer hunt program for the 2025-2026 deer season.
Is there a motion?
Josh will make a motion.
Federal second.
Motion made in second. If there's any further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Next item is also a resolution to approve professional services with EverStrive. John?
Yeah, as council knows, with my pending retirement in November, we have solicited proposals for executive search firms. We received 9 proposals. We have selected EverStrive, and council authorized us to do that contract, bring that contract forward for final action. I included or just summarized the 5 phases of the detail that's laid out further in their proposal. They're anxious to get going. They're going to come down for 2 days, April 21st, 22nd. They want to meet with the search committee, department directors, they want to meet with city council and some community leaders. And then that'll really start giving them the background they need to figure out the actual development of the materials and the marketing plan. And of course, they'll keep the search committee and the council in tuned. So we're recommending a resolution to authorize that contract with EverStrive.
So the plan for council, at least a tentative plan, is prior to the council meeting, we will meet earlier.
Well, we were debating that, but because we're going to be swearing in the new council members that night, we couldn't really do a closed session with the new members, so we'll probably have to have the closed session after.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so that'll give council an opportunity to express your opinions. They will be here the next day, as I said, meeting with community folks and the search committee. So if any of you would want to meet with them one-on-one or a smaller group, we will make those arrangements as well. And I would certainly encourage Matt and Dr. Rob, you know, you've been here for a while, you know the job, so by all means, if you would weigh in with your opinion, it would be appreciated.
They will be there the following day, which is the 22nd.
22nd, yep.
I will make it work for me.
Thank you. Any questions on the any questions? Can we read the resolution?
Yes. Resolution authorizing a professional service agreement between the City of Rolla and EverStrive Solutions of Independence, Missouri for executive search services for the city administrator.
Josh will make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Last item under new business is also a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding for the opioid drug prevention.
And, you know, we brought this to the council, actually had this discussion several months ago. Council included some funds in this 2025 fiscal year budget. We did a solicitation, we received one proposal from Prevention Consultants for $8,380 for this one-year program, really run to run consecutive with the school year. And so in your packet is the memorandum of understanding that sort of lays out the expectations, and of course, we attached the agreement with that as well. So we did talk about whether or not we want to do multiple year, and council was not interested in doing a 2-year contract, but at least the language is in here. If the council wants to do more, council can, by mutual consent of the parties, do an additional year.
Any questions for John?
Josh will make a motion to approve.
Oh, we gotta read. We gotta read it. Gotta read it.
Sure.
A resolution authorizing a service agreement between the City of Rolla and Prevention Consultants of Missouri on the use of subaward opioid settlement funds.
Josh will make that motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second. Boss will second.
Motion made in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on to claims and their fiscal transactions, we have 3. The first is a motion to award a bid to Pierce Asphalt.
So staff opened bids for project 599, fiscal year 2025 asphalt phase 2. Received 3 bids. Pierce Asphalt LLC of Rolla was low bidder at $411,524.50. In your packet is a map of the roads that we're proposing to overlay with this phase. So staff is requesting a motion to award the bid and the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter contract with Pierce Asphalt LLC for $411,524.50. Any questions?
Any questions for Darren? If not, is there a motion to award the bid to Pierce Asphalt?
Fridley will make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? First reading, please.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a certain agreement between the City of Rolla, Missouri and Pierce Asphalt LLC.
Next item is a motion to award a bid to Viso Sewer of Missouri.
So the city received a ARPA stormwater grant. We bid part of that project early in the year. That portion of the project was $530,000. So this would be the second phase of that project. We received 4 bids. Visu Sewer of Missouri was the low bid with $260,891.75. Again, in your packet is a map showing where we'd be doing this cure-in-place pipe lining. So staff is requesting motion to award the bid to Visu Sewer and the first reading of the ordinance for the same.
Darren, this is the first time I think we've awarded it to somebody other than in situ form, isn't it?
So actually, Visu Sewer is doing our sewer relining this year. We already ordered that contract.
Okay.
But this will be the first time we've used them, yes.
And had used in situ form for probably
Right.
the previous 10 or 12 years.
We had a different SAK Construction did our sewer lining last year. So this will be the 3rd contractor we've used for this type of work.
But you said you had great references from these guys.
We did.
Last time. The only other question I got, Darren, is, so this looks like phase two.
Mhm.
This will spend 800,000 of the 1104. How many more phases do we have?
Don't know, so we've got an email into DNR asking if we can do another phase. We've not heard back, so it could be that, maybe we change order. If there's some money left, maybe we change order one of these phases to do some more work. I'm not sure. More to come on that.
But we still got money.
Still got a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Darren, there's, I'm just curious, there's $130,000 difference between Visu and in situ form. I mean, in situ form is almost in line with the other two. Are we underpaying? Are we paying for good service? Or you know what I'm saying? Like, what I don't want is to pay less for something that we're gonna have to come back and redo later.
Specifications are the same for both contractors. Again, we've not used Visu before. They do have a contract with us right now. We haven't started that project. References have all been very positive. Most of these companies are spin-offs of In Situ Form. In Situ Form had the patent on this product for many years, and so when the patent ran out, most of these companies are spin-offs of In Situ Form.
There's also an awful lot of this work that's been done
Yeah.
as a result of ARPA, and so I think some that aren't very hungry, they're just throwing in high numbers. And so we're lucky to get one sort of, it's the range I think we're hoping.
Any questions for Darren? If not, is there a motion to award the bid to Visual Sewer?
I'll make that motion.
Fridley will second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Last item under fiscal transaction is a motion to authorize Green Acres Playground.
Did you do the reading?
Oh, reading.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, go ahead.
First reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and Visu Sewer of Missouri LLC.
Floyd?
So we're asking a price of $51,120 to replace the playground damage at Green Acres as an emergency expenditure from the original contractor that we went with, Playin Park. A couple of notes on this. We have to go with the original contractor, as other companies don't make replacement parts for other companies due to liability issues. And it's also a proprietary issue relative, they just don't. It'd be like putting a Cessna part on a Boeing. Questions?
Floyd, it's a slide. It's not a Cessna.
Yeah,
And
it's a good analogy.
I'm going to push
You
back.
you
on that.
fly
I'll
on the
push
slide.
back on that just a
You
week.
fly on the slide,
So Floyd, is this stuff we think we're gonna get covered with insurance when we get
Yes.
through that process?
yes.
I'm going to ask a broader question, because right now, okay, somebody's paying the bill. Tomorrow, somebody might not pay the bill. So when we buy playground equipment, is this kind of a bit of a monopoly out there? No matter who we buy the playground equipment from, we're going to be stuck with them replacing parts?
That's correct. Nobody makes parts for the other companies. I can't call up Hutchinson and say, okay, I need you to bid on replacing a part for another company that won the bid. And most of our earlier stuff that we put in back in the 80s and 90s was all Miracle stuff. And so when we replaced a part last summer on the Wedgwood Park on Winchester, we had to go with them because nobody else would make a part that would fit. And again, as I said, due to liability issues. So now, having said that, there are probably a dozen playground companies, and we solicit bids from all of them. So
Just
Kinda
feel
like
like
if-
we're getting taken, that's all.
This is pretty
It's kinda like
common.
if
As
you're-
someone who's bought playground equipment, this is, right up the alley. The same thing, I've dealt with this as
This
well.
is, that's expensive.
Yeah, it's not
Just for a
cheap.
slide, that's,
It may be common, but we don't have to like it.
No,
Yeah, but if
You
your
can
Chevy
buy a
breaks,
really nice Lexus for that.
if your Chevy breaks down, you can't go to Ford and
Used.
buy the replacement part for it. I mean, it's kind of the same.
But there's 1,000 other people, like Rock Auto and everybody else, that have parts. I mean, I just feel like somebody's taking advantage of us.
I got you.
Well,
I can't do anything about it.
yeah, the other part, it's not just the slides, though. It's also the damage on the pour-and-play surface, and that is, as you know from previous, if you've been on council, when we've done approvals for other playgrounds, regardless of who the company is, tends to be about 33 to 35% of the total cost. So we had a pretty significant gouge in that. The picture probably doesn't do it justice. So you've got that to deal with too. And as I talked to the contractor just about an hour before the meeting, when you're talking about replacing slides and things like this that are already in concrete, not just anybody can do it.
Also tore some of the tarp over it. So
Right, that's also, and
So-
there's the paddle ball feature that's also going to be.
Do they have to, they can't splice the ground, I mean, they get the flooring stuff.
Hmm?
Do they have to just put whole new flooring down?
No, they'll be able to patch it, essentially.
They
They'll be
can
able-
patch that?
Yeah.
Will they be able to do it where it's kind of seamless?
Yeah. When they do this process, actually, it's pretty slick. It goes
No
down
duct tape.
in one coat, pretty smooth. So that's the thing why I like about this safety surface is it's about as vandal-proof as you can get. Now, nothing truly is totally vandal-proof, but you can make this back to pretty much the way it was, and it has to be actually because the Consumer Product Safety has guidelines on when you're talking about fall surfaces from playgrounds. You have to have so much give in that surface underneath based on the height of what your tallest structure is. So when they go back and make a fix on this, it's still going to have to meet the same, and they'll test it. It's still you like literally you almost drop a ball on it, a weighted ball, to see
Well,
what kind
having
of
adventurous
imitation.
little kids, I appreciate that service, so.
Any questions for Floyd? If not, is there a motion to authorize the quote?
I'll make a
make-
motion.
oh.
Go ahead. I'll make a motion.
We'll all do it.
I think you got us all, Floyd.
Thank you.
All right.
Floyd, can I
Thanks,
ask you real
Floyd.
quick?
Seven
Oh, hold
Yeah.
on, okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want to ask I'll ask it after this session. I just want to know how parks are doing as far as restoring and things. I'll ask in the mayor.
Okay.
City
Yeah, and give us an
council.
update on the paddleboard course is when you
Right.
answer his question.
Sorry.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Floyd, why don't you stay up there?
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Matt, ask your question.
Floyd, I just wanted to kind of get some feedback from you regarding restoring our parks to the best of our ability, where we are and what you're looking at for a timeline.
Timeline. Depends on the particular park and particular part of the park. So we'll take them at first. I'll say the easier one, the trail. So the trails are by and large clear. We still have a few remaining piles of brush and tree limbs that we have to pick up. We've been doing that pretty much every day, and that'll be an ongoing process. I'll also tell you that this is probably, as I just talked to one of our tree contractors here in town, this process is going to go on for a good while. We're talking months. So there's still a lot of stuff that's up high that's still compromised in terms of structural integrity of the tree. There are overhanging limbs that are being supported on weak trees now that are not very stable. So that's going to be ongoing. But as of today and a while back, that was the first thing we wanted to do to get the trails open so that the public could get out on them and start walking. And while I will continue every opportunity I get to remind people to be conscious of your surroundings, look up, look around, you know. So that's come along fairly well. Green Acres is a process. So we break that down into pieces. So you just approved the playground, so thank you for that. Our contractor expects that to be done sometime in the next couple of weeks. They think they can get on that pretty quick. As far as pickleball, that's a process. And there's probably not anything other than Veterans Memorial Park that I get more questions about. So Today, I met with a contractor out there, and they are patching the holes on the fencing. So what I mean by that is the fencing that we put in on the trail side, closest to the neighborhood, was about 5 or 6 feet longer than the fencing we put on the backside. The reason we did that, and with more posts, was to allow for the future need, if we did incur this, to put in sound deadening screening. Now, that wasn't the case because we had a lot of trees that provided natural buffer. And one of the things we did was plant about 13 broadleaf pines to help with that buffer. 2 of those are still there. So we've got some work to do on that. Back to the pickleball fence. So those were the ones that, if you went through that park, you saw they were pretty much bowed over. So the contractors basically had to cut those off at the base. And they cut them off as close as they could to the surface. Nonetheless, there are still very jagged pieces there that are still prominent. So we took down the nets so nobody would play on there, because people were playing literally the day afterward on the courts. There were 4 college kids there that it's like, well, we're not done falling. And the next day we had another tree limb fall on court number 1. So we took the nets down for that. So today they were patching all those places, plus they were patching 2 sections of the court that were gouged. So that basically should be good probably by the end of the day tomorrow for patching and everything. Now, it won't look like it did before yet. That's another part of the process. So anyway, we'll have that. The number one reason I wanted to get that done was for safety, quite frankly, because even we can say, don't play, not have the nets, whatever. People still want to get out there, and I get that. We want to return them as soon as possible. So now that that essentially will be done, then we will probably work on returning at least 4 to 5 of the courts to some kind of play. We'll have to put some kind of temporary fencing in along that side. Now, will it stay there? I can't tell you for sure that that will be the case. We've had a lot of vandalism problems there. One particular day I was at Green Acres for about 3 hours. The safety fencing was down. I put it back up myself. Before I left the park, it was down again. I put it back up myself. And then the next day it was down again. So my staff went back and put it up. So it's a constant problem. So hopefully that will stay the course, and that will keep the balls from rolling down into the creek, and we can get some temporary play back. Next step of that then will be the actual contractors coming back and putting in new fencing. That fencing will have to go on the outside of the courts. So obviously we're not going to be able to go back in without tearing up the entire surface. So they'll go on the outside and replace that. That's 16 to 20 weeks out. There are 2 main fencing manufacturers that they use. The problem is not the mesh, but and this is the contractor, so this is the kind of the same type of issue that you get into, okay, who do you get, and that kind of thing. So essentially, they're reliant on their suppliers, and that's what they tell us their timeline is out. Once they can replace that with these longer poles, and we'll go back to because that's our goal, is to restore it back to what it was. Once we get that done, then they will come back in and resurface the whole thing. Now, that's not a start from scratch kind of thing. That's basically repainting it, as it were. That's the best way I can explain it. So the goal, again, is to have it look and be pretty much what it was beforehand. So they will be able to do that probably within a week or 2 after they get the fencing up. So our goal on the pickleball is to restore play as best we can. We have a couple of net posts that are not usable. That's why I say 4 or 5 out of the 6. Be able to do that hopefully in the next week-ish. And then once we get the fencing in, so potentially maybe 2 months, could be sooner, then we resurface. That's probably going to take a couple of days to cure. So hopefully the goal timetable would be, worst case scenario, 3 months, probably, maybe sooner than that, optimistically. So that's basically the timeline for pickleball. Again, the main thing is to try to get it back to some semblance of play so that people can go back and start playing.
Floyd, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Can you put a camera down there? Like a sign that says, "You're being watched"?
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. Okay.
We'd have to put, we don't have Wi-Fi there, we'd have to put Wi-Fi
Can you
capability.
put like a game camera down there? or
Well,
something
we
like that?
could, but we did that, actually, that my predecessor, Scott Karen, did that on the trail when we first really started expanding the trail, and it lasted a week. So,
Okay.
yeah, we could put cameras
What kind
there.
of vandalism are you getting on the pickleball court?
Well, let's see, I guess
Short
the first,
version.
the first thing was, what?
Dogs,
Dogs, skateboards,
skateboards, skaters.
yeah, and some graffiti. So.
Can we station the chief down there?
Okay, so that's pretty much the status of Green Acres. So, Burwan. The main issue we have there, of course, is the lights. I'll be coming to you at some point here, sooner the better, to replace the light system at Morgan, because 1967 poles don't hold up very well to weather, as we've seen for 3 successive years. So that, fortunately, is the last field with old light poles like that. So that's the number one significant, biggest financial impact on that, outside of the trees. We have some fence damage at the soccer courts and whatnot. I think we will be able, and the playground and the ball field, I think we'll be able to get that done this summer. So I've talked to the company which is a local company that put that in for us back originally, and they're optimistic that, we're on their list and they'll get to that, and I think we'll have that done here probably within a month and a half or so, or sooner.
Floyd, can we jump to Veterans Memorial? Let's not get into
Veterans Memorial, that's going to be probably a longer process. So the simplest thing, I talked to Glenn, what we want to do with the veterans, as we kind of mapped out a timeline, is number one, do the easy fixes. So they requested that we do the light poles first. I talked to Leo Cardetti today. They are going to do 3 replacement poles. Our guys think we can put them up. If not, I've got a company on standby that will do that for us if we're not able to do that. That will require some heavy, like a backhoe and whatnot, to be able to put those in. I think we can do that probably certainly my goal is by Memorial Day or before, so that we'll have the flags back up there, and hopefully a lot sooner. Then we want to probably tackle the entrance sign on the arch where the metal was wrapped. So I hope we will be able, I also like to target that before Memorial Day. The pavilions will take some doing, because we'll have to basically get an engineering company and redo those, even the newest one that we had, because we want to go back in with a rating of about 125 to 135 mile per hour, where that was rated about 90, and the other one was rated about 60-ish. So if we're going to go back, we want them to last. We're going to try to get as close to the design as we could, particularly on the newest one. So that'll be a step. So engineering process, we'll have to do the bidding process. We'll come back before council and say, here's the competitive bids. Insurance, again, is going to pay for this, but we'll do that just like we do any other public works or parks project. We'll advertise for X amount
Do you
of
have
time.
to bid out the engineering?
Yes, we will probably look at doing that too. We have a number of engineering firms that the city utilizes, and so we will contact them and see, what they can provide for us.
Design build. Sometimes these are all
Right.
prefab design construction, so.
So we'll look at all those options.
Floyd, the main thing I'm wanting to know is, just for the community's sake, by about June 1st, when kids are out of school and really want to, they get out earlier, of course, but by June 1st, are we going to have a pretty good range of facilities open for kids in the summertime?
I'd say
really what-
yes.
Okay.
Um,
That's the main thing people are
yeah.
asking me, is how are we going to have the spaces and those kinds of
Well,
things. So-
fortunately, other than the lights at Kiwanis, the ball fields have not really been impacted. We cleaned up most of the tree debris at Burwan. We're still getting good response from volunteers at a group call Friday, and they're going to come in and help us at the cemetery. Unfortunately, the number of monuments that are down continues to grow. We're up to 41 as of today. Some of those, as I've said before, we'll be able to put up. My hope is to get most of that returned, at least the older ones by Memorial Day, and the others as quickly as we can thereafter.
Well, I appreciate that. It's good to hear that, and people are asking, not complaining, they're asking.
Right.
They know it's a process, so thank you for your work and the work of your department to.
Thank you.
To try to get things going. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks, Floyd.
Citizen communication, is there anyone that would like to speak to city council? If not, Mayor, city council comments, I have 3 things. The first is Arbor Day, and I don't know what it is, but, you know, growing up, I remember hearing about Arbor Day fairly regularly. I don't know if it's still taught in schools or anything like that, but something we don't seem to talk about as much as we used to. And Arbor Day has been around a long time. It started in 1872 in Nebraska. I want to make a point of saying, you know, the city participates, and we don't just play lip service to it. As I read you the proclamation, there are certain things that I'll allude here that we do. But, you know, Rolla is pretty proud of our trees. And, you know, it's amazing sometimes when I talk to Floyd about a tree, it's like he knows every darn tree in the city. And he'll very quickly say, we got this diversity and that diversity type of thing. So, you know, we should be darn proud of our parks and the trees and the role that they play. So let me read the Arbor Day proclamation first. The city of Rolla, Missouri was proudly recognized as a tree city in July of 2019. One of the requirements of Tree City USA is to annually recognize Arbor Day. In 1872, through the efforts of J. Sterling Morton, Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fire, and countless other wood products. Trees, wherever they're planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. The city offers various programs to promote the planting of location-appropriate trees, including the Reforest Rolla program, Riparian Reforestation program, and of course the Acorn Memorial Tree Planting program, which is very popular. In partnership with Tree City USA and the Missouri Department of Conservation, the city received a grant in 2020 to conduct a standard inventory analysis and management plan. The report focused on the health and value of more than 3,800 trees on public property in the city of Rolla, and that adds substantially to the quality of our life. I therefore declare April 11th Arbor Day. Floyd, would you come up and accept this?
They say 489. We knew it was going to happen, but why?
Second item I have is, it's only the second time, I think, in my 30-plus years here where we had an emergency declaration. But back on March 19th, the city took action and declared an emergency declaration. And that's a course of action, and I'll tell you the reason we did it. Rebuilding a Rolla is not going to come quickly or cheap, and we want to do something from city administration's perspective to make the rebuilding of Rolla go as fast and as we possibly can. So one of the things we've done is, community development has looked at the permitting process of everything that's associated with building and demolition and all of those things. And we took some actions to waive some of the fees and shorten some of the timeline on the permit processes. Not forever, but for a period of 60 days. So electric service permit fees, which are there for residential and commercial, have been waived. Demolition permit fees, residential and commercial, have been waived. Excavation deposits related to demolition permits are going to be waived, are being waived. Construction deposits, which we normally collect, and that's a mechanism, if you will. They are always reimbursable, but they're ensured that people come in and get the permits and things like that. So those deposits are going to be waived for properties that were damaged by the storm. Business license location change fees is going to be waived for a business that's damaged by the storm. So these are some of the actions that we're taking to help homeowners and local contractors get people building and back in their homes. One other item I have, and we talked a little bit about the opioids money and the settlement. I'm not asking you for any action, but I'm really looking to plant a seed, is that the money that the city of Rolla has gotten and getting is not substantial. And it's, what we can do with that money is extremely limited. And when you look at the process to put that in place and what kind of potential benefits, the question is that the best use? Can we leverage that money best ourselves? Or can we combine it with the county, who has 6 figures?
Yeah.
Well into the six
Yeah, well into
figures?
6 figures.
At a later date down the road, a couple months maybe or so, weeks down the road, is to look and to say, do we really want to do this again next year for the amount of money that we have? Or we're going to get more bang for the buck as a community and throw in with the county? So just planting a seed on that. Other council comments?
I had a question for John or Darren. Just looking at the Facebook post, I guess last Friday was the last day for going around and picking up tree limbs and stuff out of yards.
No.
Well, it's been extended.
Okay.
But Darren is really wants to finish it by Friday, right, Darren?
I don't have a date that we're going to be done yet.
Okay.
But what did you tell me yesterday?
We're hoping to be done by Friday.
All right. And that's for tree limbs and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Now, are you also picking up, like, there was storm debris that was supposed to start?
Started that today.
Okay, so you're still doing both?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But I would like to say, when we say storm debris, I mean, we're talking tree limbs. If you take a leaf rake and rake twigs in your yard, we're not picking that up.
Aw.
Yeah, when you talk about debris, are you talking maybe more for Rogers type of activities?
That's right, I think that's where.
Yeah, okay, so Darren is focusing just on trees, Roger's not here. John, where are we on the dumpsters and people picking up debris?
Yeah, we're almost getting nothing taken to the Sharp Road property for household materials. So really what Darren's talking about is when we're done with the vegetative, we're going to still go back with the public works crews to pick up sort of the piles of wood debris that's already at the curb. But there is a point where we got to stop.
Whoa,
doing it.
what do you mean wood debris? What about siding and?
Siding, two-by-fours,
Yeah, okay.
shingles,
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
Storm debris.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll keep doing that, but our goal is we need to be throttling back in the next week or two. And that's, the press release we put out said, we're winding this down, call us with specific locations. Because we just can't keep going back to the same areas and picking up everything. Ultimately, homeowners insurance needs to be covering the bulk of this. We're sort of, the emergency response, the community response, the city's response is supporting that, but we can't pick up every bit of everyone's construction material, demolition material, and.
You guys should pick a
yard waste.
date. You guys should pick a date and put it out there.
Well, the problem is, as soon as we do, we're still getting people call in. So we're targeting this Friday, but we'll be working in the next week with picking up these areas. The key is call so we can get them on record.
Right.
I think it seems like you have to really play it by ear of what, right? I mean,
But we eventually have to get back to work. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the problem is, so, and folks are continuing, will come back to an area, then a week later, there's more stuff there.
I just meant as far as setting a date, it would be hard to,
We'll eventually have to, or just say we're having to cut it off here, but.
Yeah.
You're gonna set a date. It's just a matter of when you're gonna set it.
Yeah.
But you are gonna set
but
it.
it sounds like right now doesn't sound like the time.
It's getting closer, though. That's the
Yeah.
point we're trying to make. Call with
Like I said, we'd ask everybody to.
I think hold on.
Go ahead.
I think your takeaway should be to tell citizens, hurry up.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
just let them believe it's gonna be forever.
Right.
Hurry up.
I've had several, citizens ask, for an extension or, can I have a special pickup at a later date? I hate to tell you, the answer is no. At some point, we're gonna have to say we're done. We've got to get back to patching streets. I mean, there's potholes popping up everywhere. So at some point, we've got to get back to doing our basic duties, so.
That answer both your questions?
Yep.
Any other
Thanks, Dan.
council comments?
I see Roger's not here, but do we have any thing for the spring cleanup? I know it was a terrible
You
day to
missed
do it.
That's what I was gonna ask.
No, I know, I didn't, I was just wondering how it went.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get a report.
He
so-
said you missed it.
The weather was
Well,
terrible.
Somebody in my family
That's
was not
actually-
gonna let me miss that date.
Yeah, that was actually a true statement. I did miss it, but I didn't. But anyway, I was just wondering how it
I didn't get any quantities. Okay. Yeah. Roger got called away with his family issue, so we'll get some information. We can send that around.
I feel like I've seen a decent amount of stuff out, not as much as.
Not as much as
Not as
typical.
much as usual.
Yeah.
I didn't see near as many trucks and trailers going around picking it all up.
Oh, I did not see any of that, actually.
Nothing compared to what we did in the years past.
Yeah.
But everything that I saw out Saturday morning was gone by Saturday evening. I mean, they did a great job.
I saw that somebody put out a very large stuffed sofa, and it rained like heck the
Oh.
night before. I can't imagine how the guys picked that up.
Heavy.
I can't imagine. Any other council comments?
Chief Fagan, I saw a press release out today on Detective Kitzler and his involvement. Would you mind to talk a little bit about that?
I think I sent that article to all of you. But Detective Ketzler is one of the original detectives when we started our own Rolla Area Drug Enforcement Unit. 2 years ago, he got a case. It was a simple hand-to-hand sale case. And he worked that case for 2 years, working with the assistance of the FBI and the DEA. And a couple of weeks ago, he ended up getting a search warrant and executing a search warrant in Kansas City where he got over 100 pounds of methamphetamine rock and 400 pounds of liquid methamphetamine, along with 4 handguns, a lot of money. I think he got a kilo of heroin and a very large amount of pills. The article said that the person was Mexican illegal. What he was a cartel member. So it was a big case. I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what are you doing in Kansas City? Well, the supplier that supplies Phelps County and Rolla was the guy that we got in Kansas City. So very big arrest. He did an outstanding job. Unfortunately, we can't put his picture in the paper. He is a narcotics agent, so. But it was him, it was and another narcotics officer that's in our unit from Dent County that worked with him on this. So I was doing a little bit of bragging, sending that out, because it's very unusual to get that large amount of drugs in a single search
Chief,
warrant.
100 pounds of meth seems like an incredible amount.
It
Did you
is.
guys estimate street value of this thing?
You know, you can get an ounce of methamphetamine for about $300 when the border was open. Now that the border's closed, the price is going up tremendously.
Really?
Yeah. It used to be that we would have meth labs all over the Phelps County area. Well, you don't see them anymore because they opened the border, and it's cheaper just to bring it up from Mexico. But now that the border's closed, we're preparing for meth labs to start up again. The price of methamphetamine, you know, when I first started in this business, to get an ounce of methamphetamine was a tremendous arrest. And now, you know, they get it in ounces now, not just a single gram or something of methamphetamine. But even with as easy as it is to get it now, that is still a tremendous amount. I mean, you got to remember there's 400 pounds of liquid methamphetamine too, and what that is simply is they stick the liquid in they cook it and it becomes crystal. So, you know, he got 500 pounds of methamphetamine off the street. That simply was to supply the state of Missouri, a lot of which ended up in Phelps County, so.
You know, some of the council members may not remember this, but we were a member of the South Central Drug Task Force for years, but it covered such a big area. We were sending our resources, it seemed, everywhere else. About 3 years ago, we formed RAID.
Correct.
With all that.
Well, we did it for two reasons. We got out of it because of the Second Amendment Preservation Act made it to where with South Central Drug Task Force, we had a DEA agent working in the task force, which meant that if we seized any weapons and the DEA agent was involved in it, we would have got a $50,000 fine for each weapon. So we got out of it and formed our own. Since then, the Supreme Court has struck that part of the Second Amendment Preservation Act, so we can work with DEA and everything now.
But our focus is.
Yeah, our focus now is simply, well, we do Phelps County and we do Dent County now, because they joined. So we have 3 agents in the unit right now.
Great job.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, great job, thank you.
Awesome.
Only other thing I had real quick is all these community meetings I get, I'm blessed to be a part of. There is flyers everywhere now of everything coming up. It's spring, so everybody's pumping all their stuff up. You know, Take a Stand's coming up, Alzheimer's Walk's coming up, Summerfest, all those kind of things. Back to Stevie and Amy being here earlier. Those two, you know, Robin, Abby doing an incredible job. Back to visitrolla.com, putting all these flyers and getting all that stuff out there. So if you've ever got any questions on anything going on in the community, it's all there. It's always there. The closest one we got coming up, CORE, which is the foundation for Rolla High School, has their breakfast coming up on April 21st. If you can go to that, it's worth your time to see the things that it supports within the school system. And it's April 21st at the junior high. But I just want to mention all those things are out there. It's that time of year where they're pumping all that stuff.
Any other city council comments? Comments for the good of the order. Our next meeting is Monday, the 21st. Tomorrow is municipal elections. One of the greatest things about this country is we get to vote, and we should never take that for granted. Those running, incumbents and challengers, have worked very hard in the last couple of months, so we appreciate their efforts. Couple of things coming up at the center. One is an underwater Easter egg hunt. That's April 18th at the center. And along with that, on the 26th, I was wondering why they call it an Easter bone hunt, but now I see it's the Rolla Dog Park.
Yes.
Okay, that's creative. Who's sponsoring that? Oh, Floyd, that's your group. Good job. Any other comments for the good of the order?
I got 2 more I meant to mention really quick. What day? Last Thursday, Friday, whatever it was, you put a proclamation together for CASA and the month of the CASA child in Rolla and Phelps County, which was amazing. Tanya and I are CASA, so it meant a lot. But a great group there for that. I think it was awesome that the city and the county both participated in that.
That was the biggest, and I've been doing that for a number of years. That was the biggest, most well-attended one.
Yeah.
By far.
Court reporting special advocate, for those that don't know, that's being the voice of the kids that, a little over 500 kids in Phelps County that need that support. Last thing is, it's also, we're right next to Fort Leonard Wood. It's also the month of the military child. So you'll see a lot going on this month in April.
Military what?
What does that mean?
Military child. So it's awareness and support for children that are in military families, and the special things they go through as their parents, you know, all over the world. Yeah, all over the world. So it's great to make sure we recognize that as well.
Any other comments? If not, we do not have any closed.
Come on up.
I'm sorry?
Chief's coming up.
I meant to do this while I was up here before, but we all know the night the tornado hit, in the middle of the night, several of law enforcement, firefighters, and ambulance went to the command post. Well, one of the issues we had was we couldn't get around because there were trees down across the streets. Well, when I got there, there was somebody that was already there. David Duke was there with two of his friends and their chainsaws. And as soon as we told him there was a tree across the road, they went out there and cleared it. After they cleared it, they came back, found out where another one was, they went out and cleared it. They did this all night long, and I just wanted to express my appreciation to him.
That's good.
Personally, me trying to get to work, I had to go about 6 miles out of the way because there was a large tree across where I live. And as soon as I got there, I said, "I'm sorry it took me so long to get here, people." And he immediately went out there, and this was 2 huge trees. And within a half an hour, him and 2 of his friends had it cleared and had the street cleared. He did this, like I said, all night long.
He did that for a week, Chief. He was all over town doing that stuff all week long.
I don't know about what he did, but I just know that
I
that night
saw
he
him.
really was able to get our emergency vehicles around. So, David, I just want to thank you for that
Yeah,
personally.
that's good.
David, you practice what you preach. That's a great thing.
I love my city, man.
If there's nothing else, meeting adjourned.